The human desire for grand gestures isn't arbitrary. It's deeply ingrained, shaped by a powerful confluence of evolutionary predispositions, cultural narratives, and individual psychological needs. To truly understand the grand gesture gone wrong, we must first dissect its magnetic appeal. At a fundamental level, the brain is wired to seek novelty and high-impact experiences. Research into the neuroscience of love highlights the role of a specific neurotransmitter associated with reward and motivation. Grand gestures, with their element of surprise and dramatic flair, trigger a significant rush of this chemical, creating a powerful, almost addictive sensation of euphoria. This isn't just about feeling loved, it's about the physiological high that accompanies the extraordinary. This primal pull towards the novel and intense can override a more measured appreciation for consistent, quieter forms of affection. The brain, in its quest for pleasure and validation, can become accustomed to these high-intensity hits, making everyday gestures seem unremarkable by comparison. This can create a constant yearning for the next big moment, making it difficult to find satisfaction in the steady flow of daily affection, and subtly eroding the capacity for sustained contentment. Beyond biology, societal and media influences cast a colossal shadow. From childhood, many are steeped in narratives where love is synonymous with dramatic declarations. Films, romantic comedies, popular music, and increasingly curated social media feeds relentlessly propagate the myth of love as a series of monumental, publicly celebrated events. The perfect proposal, the spontaneous romantic getaway, the viral declaration of love. These aren't just aspirational, they become prescriptive. This creates a powerful social comparison bias, where individuals constantly measure their own relationships against these idealized, often manufactured benchmarks. If real life doesn't mirror the cinematic, it can feel inherently lacking. This constant exposure to idealized versions of romance can distort our perception of what a healthy, sustainable relationship looks like, prioritizing performative displays over genuine connection. The emphasis shifts from internal fulfillment to external validation, where a relationship's worth is measured by its outward spectacle rather than its lived reality. Furthermore, cognitive biases play a significant role. One such bias leads individuals to selectively notice and remember instances of grand gestures, reinforcing their belief that this is the only way love truly expresses itself, while overlooking countless quiet acts of devotion. They might scroll past dozens of posts about partners enjoying simple shared moments, but linger on the one showcasing an elaborate anniversary trip, solidifying their internal narrative about what true love entails. Another cognitive tendency makes easily recalled, dramatic examples of romance seem more common and desirable than they actually are. Because these grand gestures are highly publicized and emotionally charged, they come to mind more readily than the quiet strength of daily commitment, skewing our perception of love's true landscape. These biases create a perceptual filter, actively shaping how love is received and what is deemed valuable within a partnership. When the expectation of grand gestures takes root, it fundamentally alters an individual's perception of love and, critically, of their partner. This isn't merely a preference, it's a deeply embedded framework that can lead to profound relational distress. Attachment theory provides a critical lens. Individuals with an anxious attachment style often crave constant reassurance of their partner's love and commitment. The grand gesture, with its overt display of effort and perceived proof of devotion, can temporarily quell this anxiety. It serves as a fleeting external validation, a momentary soothing of an underlying fear of abandonment or inadequacy. However, because it's a transient high-impact event, its absence in daily life can trigger renewed insecurity, leading to a perpetual cycle of craving and disappointment. The proof is never enough, always needing to be topped, creating an exhausting and unsustainable demand on the relationship. Conversely, a partner with an avoidant attachment style might find grand gestures overwhelming or inauthentic, perceiving them as attempts to control or suffocate, withdrawing from what they see as excessive emotional demands, further exacerbating the anxious partner's fears and reinforcing the cycle of disappointment. The differing needs for closeness and expression become a source of profound friction, where one seeks intensity and the other seeks space. Developmental theories also offer insight into the maturity required for healthy relationships. A persistent reliance on grand gestures can indicate an underlying struggle with true intimacy. If an individual believes love must be proven through elaborate performances, they may be avoiding the vulnerability and authenticity required for deep, sustained connection. They might confuse the external validation of a spectacle with the internal security of a truly bonded relationship. This can hinder the development of a secure, mature sense of self within a partnership, as the focus remains on external validation rather than internal relational strength. The fear of being truly known with all one's imperfections can be masked by the desire for dazzling surface-level affirmations that offer a sense of temporary rather than enduring validation. The concept of the shadow from depth psychology offers another layer of understanding. The individual consistently expecting grand gestures might be projecting an unfulfilled internal need or a hidden insecurity onto their partner. Perhaps they harbor an unconscious belief that they are not inherently worthy of love, unless it is demonstrably earned or spectacularly proven. The grand gesture becomes a compensatory mechanism, an external attempt to fill an internal void that only self-acceptance and inner work can truly address. It's a yearning for a love that doesn't just see them, but validates them in a dramatic, undeniable way, often stemming from unresolved past experiences or perceived deficiencies. Archetypal influences can also unconsciously shape these expectations, leading individuals to seek partners who embody heroic or idealized romantic narratives and perform acts fitting a predetermined script. This creates a disconnect between the idealized archetype and the complex reality of a human partner, leading to perpetual dissatisfaction. Insights into attraction and relationship dynamics also highlight the importance of consistency over fleeting grandiosity. While initial sparks can be ignited by impressive gestures, the true foundation of attraction and sustained connection lies in reliable, authentic, and consistent effort. An over-reliance on grand gestures can actually signal insecurity or a lack of deeper emotional substance, which eventually becomes apparent as the relationship progresses. It can create an imbalance where one partner feels like a constant performer rather than an equal participant in shared experiences, leading to emotional detachment over time. The constant pursuit of the grand gesture creates a cascade of negative consequences for both the individual and the relationship, often subtly eroding the very foundations of connection. For the expecting partner, the primary outcome is chronic disappointment, because reality rarely matches the meticulously constructed fantasy. Every normal act of love feels insufficient. This leads to a persistent feeling of being unloved, unappreciated, or misunderstood. The partner might become resentful, perceiving their partner as uncaring or unromantic, even when the partner is expressing love in countless other equally valid ways. This perpetual dissatisfaction can manifest as emotional distance, passive aggression, or even overt criticism, damaging the relational atmosphere. This constant state of yearning can blind them to the actual expressions of affection their partner is offering, leading to a profound sense of isolation, despite being in a relationship. The emotional toll of this perpetual disappointment can also lead to a decrease in their own capacity for joy and appreciation within the partnership, trapping them in a cycle of dissatisfaction and negative rumination. For the partner attempting to deliver, the pressure becomes immense. The constant need to perform creates a sense of inadequacy and exhaustion. Their genuine efforts and consistent acts of care go unnoticed or unvalued because they don't fit the expected mold. This can lead to resentment and a feeling of being unappreciated, triggering withdrawal or a cessation of their authentic expressions of love. Why bother with thoughtful daily actions if only a theatrical spectacle will register? This dynamic often aligns with research on the 4 horsemen of relational distress. Persistent criticism from the expecting partner, you never do anything special. Defensiveness from the delivering partner, I work hard, I do so much for us. Contempt for the perceived lack of effort, a dismissive attitude or sarcasm, and ultimately stonewalling or emotional withdrawal, shutting down and disengaging. The relationship slowly starves, not from a lack of love, but from a fundamental mismatch in how love is expressed and received, creating a communication breakdown that feels impossible to bridge. The emotional labor required to constantly live up to an imagined ideal becomes unsustainable, leading to burnout and emotional distance, and a profound sense of being misunderstood. Moreover, the focus on grand gestures distracts from the true work of intimacy. As one philosophical perspective posits, love is an active practice, a discipline. It requires sustained effort, presence, and genuine engagement in the mundane, day-to-day realities of a relationship. When the spotlight is always on the extraordinary, the essential, quiet acts of care, listening, supporting, compromising, forgiving, shared vulnerability, are overshadowed and devalued. This can lead to a shallow connection, where the relationship thrives on peaks of excitement, but lacks the deep, resilient roots needed to weather inevitable challenges. The grand gesture can become a substitute for true emotional labor, an easy out that avoids the harder, more consistent work of building a durable bond based on mutual understanding and shared purpose, ultimately leaving both partners feeling unfulfilled. Nuanced explorations of modern intimacy also resonate here. These discussions often highlight the tension between security and desire. While grand gestures might momentarily ignite desire through novelty, they rarely foster the security and genuine curiosity that sustain long-term passion and intimacy. If one partner is constantly performing, the other might feel like an audience member rather than an equal participant in a shared journey, leading to a sense of emotional distance. Furthermore, the performative nature can lead to a lack of genuine understanding. The delivering partner is trying to fulfill an expectation, not necessarily responding to a deeply understood need for connection or reassurance. This creates a cycle where both partners feel unseen and unheard in their authentic expressions and needs, leading to a profound sense of isolation within the relationship. Breaking free from the allure of the grand gesture requires a conscious, intentional effort to redefine what love means and how it truly manifests. This shift demands introspection, courageous communication, and a willingness to embrace a more nuanced, realistic view of partnership. A foundational step is understanding the concepts of love languages. The grand gesture often aligns with expressions like receiving gifts or acts of service, when the gesture involves planning or effort. However, if a partner's primary way of feeling loved is through words of affirmation, quality time, or physical touch, a grand gesture, while perhaps momentarily pleasant, will not register as deeply as consistent, targeted expressions of their specific love language. Recognizing these differences allows partners to express love in ways that genuinely resonate with each other, shifting from a generic expectation to personalized, meaningful connection. This understanding is not just theoretical, it requires active observation, empathetic inquiry, and direct communication within the relationship to truly discern what makes each partner feel most cherished and seen, moving beyond assumptions to genuine understanding. Communication frameworks provide a powerful structure for addressing this dilemma. These principles encourage individuals to identify and express their underlying needs. For example, I need to feel seen, or I need to feel cherished, or I need to know my efforts are appreciated, rather than making demands or criticisms about external behaviors, like, you never do anything special. This allows partners to understand the emotional landscape beneath the expectation and respond with empathy, fostering connection rather than defensiveness. It moves the conversation from, you don't love me enough because you didn't do X, to, when you do Y, I feel truly loved and appreciated. Or, when I put effort into Z, I need to know it matters to you. This empathetic listening allows for a bridge of understanding to be built, addressing the root emotional needs instead of merely focusing on superficial actions, thereby strengthening the emotional bond. Research on vulnerability is also crucial. For the person expecting the grand gesture, it means being vulnerable enough to acknowledge the underlying fears or insecurities that fuel this expectation. It's about admitting, I feel insecure when I don't see overt displays of affection, and I need reassurance in ways that are sustainable for us both, rather than resorting to thinly veiled critiques. This radical honesty is challenging, but essential for true growth. For the partner, it's about being vulnerable enough to express their authentic feelings and boundaries without shame, communicating what they can sustainably offer and how they naturally express their love. True intimacy blossoms not in perfect performances, but in the courage to be seen, fully and imperfectly, acknowledging both strengths and limitations, and fostering a space of mutual acceptance and authentic connection. A critical perspective on love also provides a guiding philosophy. It emphasizes that love is not merely a feeling, but an ethical practice, involving commitment, care, responsibility, respect, and knowledge. This reframes love from a passive, receiving state to an active, engaged choice. It encourages individuals to move beyond superficial ideals and actively cultivate a love that is rooted in mutual growth, understanding, and justice within the relationship. It's about building a partnership that is robust and meaningful, not just dazzling. This perspective encourages a deconstruction of commercialized notions of love, urging individuals to actively define and practice love in ways that are truly liberating and empowering for all involved, focusing on the quality of interaction rather than external display or societal pressures. Shifting perspective from the singular, monumental gesture to the everyday grand gesture is transformative. This involves recognizing and valuing the consistent, quiet acts of care that truly sustain a relationship, fundamentally altering one's internal framework for perceiving and experiencing love. This reappreciation often begins with a deliberate practice of mindfulness and gratitude. Keeping a gratitude journal focused specifically on a partner's seemingly small acts of love can retrain the brain to register these moments as significant. The way they remember your coffee order, the consistent support during a stressful period, the thoughtful text message, the patient listening after a difficult day. These are not mundane. They are the threads that weave the fabric of deep connection. This aligns with research on bids for connection, where successful couples are those who consistently turn towards their partner's small attempts to connect, rather than away. These bids are often subtle: a sigh, a comment, a shared glance, and the ability to notice and respond to them is far more indicative of relational health than the ability to orchestrate a spectacle. Building a sound relationship house involves daily investments in these seemingly minor interactions, which accumulate into a strong sense of trust and attunement, forming the bedrock of lasting love. The constant awareness of these small, consistent acts cultivates a daily harvest of appreciation, replacing the fleeting high of grand gestures with a steady, reliable warmth. This mental reframing shifts the locus of validation from external, performative acts to the internal, lived experience of mutual care. Therapeutic approaches underscore the importance of understanding underlying attachment needs and fostering secure bonds. When individuals feel securely attached, when they know their partner is consistently there for them, responsive to their needs, and emotionally accessible, the desperate craving for proof through grand gestures often diminishes. Security allows for a relaxation into the relationship, fostering an appreciation for genuine intimacy over performative acts. These therapies help partners identify and de-escalate negative interaction cycles that arise from unmet attachment needs, allowing them to express their vulnerabilities more directly and receive comfort. This moves the relationship from a place of anxiety and demand to one of safety and genuine connection, where love is felt consistently rather than intermittently, fostering a sense of inner peace and relational resilience. The capacity for calm, sustained connection often grows directly proportional to the reduction in attachment-driven anxieties. Furthermore, insights from systemic therapy offer a fascinating parallel in understanding how unconscious family patterns or orders of love can influence our expectations. Sometimes our idealized visions of romance are not entirely our own, but are inherited patterns or unaddressed imbalances from our family systems. Recognizing if our expectation for grand gestures stems from a larger, unacknowledged systemic dynamic can be a powerful step toward liberation. This isn't about blaming, but about recognizing deeper influences on our relational patterns and choosing to forge new, healthier ones that serve the current relationship. Unraveling these invisible loyalties or inherited scripts allows individuals to interact from a place of conscious choice rather than unconscious compulsion, enabling a more authentic expression and reception of love. This systemic perspective illuminates how the individual yearning for grand gestures might be unconsciously carrying a pattern of seeking dramatic validation, perhaps stemming from a family history where love was inconsistently or performatively shown. Ultimately, navigating the grand romantic gesture dilemma is about growth and individuation, a process of becoming whole within oneself, reducing the reliance on external validation, and understanding that genuine love is an ongoing process of mutual care, understanding, and shared life, not a series of one-off spectacular events. It's moving from a love that is transactional, you do this, I feel loved, to a love that is transformational. We are building something meaningful together every day. This process of individuation allows for a deeper acceptance of reality and a greater capacity for self-generated happiness, rather than relying on external displays to fulfill internal needs. It allows individuals to see their partners not as performers of their romantic fantasies, but as complex, authentic human beings with their own unique ways of loving.
fostering a deeper, more sustainable connection built on mutual respect and understanding. This self-discovery path liberates the individual from the exhausting pursuit of an external ideal, grounding them in the richness of their own inner life and the genuine connections they forge. The romantic ideal presented in media and culture often sets an impossibly high bar, pushing us to constantly seek the extraordinary. But the profound truth, illuminated by decades of psychological insight, is that the most enduring and fulfilling love is built not on grand gestures, but on consistent, thoughtful, and authentic everyday acts of connection. It's in the quiet moments, the unspoken understandings, and the unwavering presence that true intimacy truly flourishes. This isn't to say that thoughtful surprises have no place, but they should arise from a place of genuine desire to connect rather than a desperate need to fulfill an unrealistic expectation. They become celebrations of an already strong bond, not attempts to create one, adding richness without creating pressure or a sense of inadequacy.
To fully grasp the grand gesture gone wrong and truly pivot towards sustainable, authentic connection, we must delve deeper into the philosophy and practice of subtle love, moving beyond the immediate gratification of spectacle towards the profound satisfaction of consistent, empathetic engagement. One critical aspect lies in understanding the distinction between immature and mature love, a concept explored by various philosophical perspectives on relationships. Immature love often focuses on receiving, on what the other person can do to fulfill one's own desires, often expressed through demands for dramatic validation. It can be characterized by a falling in love phase driven by idealization and projection, where the partner is seen as a means to complete oneself. In contrast, mature love is an active, chosen practice. It is less about being swept off one's feet and more about standing together, supporting, and building. This involves conscious effort, responsibility, and a deep knowledge of the other person, seeing them for who they truly are, not who we wish them to be. It thrives on respect and mutual growth, rather than fleeting emotional highs. This active, mature love recognizes that sustained effort and consistent care are far more valuable than episodic bursts of extravagance. This mature understanding of love also incorporates research on desire in long-term relationships. While novelty can spark initial attraction, maintaining desire over time often requires a delicate balance of familiarity and mystery, and an appreciation for the partner's evolving self. When love is constantly measured by grand gestures, it can ironically stifle genuine desire, as the focus shifts from authentic connection to performance. The pressure to continually impress can exhaust both partners and diminish the spontaneous joy of simply being together. Desire is not solely fueled by external dazzle. It is often sustained by curiosity, empathy, and the ongoing process of rediscovering one another in the everyday. Furthermore, integrating insights on vulnerability, shame, courage, and empathy offers crucial tools for navigating these expectations. For individuals who crave grand gestures, there is often a deep, unconscious fear of not being enough or of being overlooked. This fear can lead to a sense of shame about their own perceived inadequacy, which they attempt to cover with demands for external validation. Cultivating courage means confronting this underlying shame and daring to be seen for who they truly are, flaws and all, without needing external theatrics to prove their worth. Empathy, then, becomes a two-way street. The partner learns to empathize with the underlying need for reassurance, and the individual learns to empathize with their partner's authentic ways of showing love, even if they're quiet and consistent. The idea of ethical, transformative love also offers a powerful lens. This perspective challenges conventional romantic ideals that can inadvertently reinforce power dynamics or consumerist notions of love. It encourages a love that actively seeks to empower all individuals within the relationship, fostering growth and liberation rather than dependence on external validation. In this context, the grand gesture can be seen as a relic of a transactional mindset, where love is bought or earned through display. Transformative love, conversely, is built on mutual respect, open communication, and a shared commitment to personal and relational well-being, where small, consistent acts of care contribute to a larger, more equitable and fulfilling bond. The integration of neuroscience with attachment theory and arousal regulation provides a holistic view of how our brains are wired for love and conflict. Understanding how our nervous systems react to perceived threats, like a lack of desired grand gestures, and how to self-regulate and co-regulate with a partner is vital. When the expectation of a grand gesture goes unmet, it can trigger a threat response, leading to emotional dysregulation. Learning to soothe these reactions, communicate needs calmly, and appreciate the more subtle, consistent forms of relational safety helps to build a truly secure and regulated partnership. This scientific understanding reinforces the idea that true love isn't about dramatic highs, but about the steady, secure base that allows both partners to thrive. The journey away from the grand gesture gone wrong is a profound self-discovery and relational maturity. It demands that we look beyond the surface, beyond the cinematic and the social media scroll, and truly see the quiet, consistent acts of love that build a resilient and fulfilling partnership. It's about understanding that the most powerful declarations of love are often whispered in everyday kindness, expressed through unwavering presence, and felt in the deep, shared rhythm of life. This shift allows for a liberation from unrealistic ideals, opening the door to a more authentic, sustainable, and deeply satisfying experience of love. The urban tapestry of our modern lives is rich with these subtle, profound connections, waiting to be appreciated. If this deep dive into the true nature of love resonated with you, and if you're ready to continue unraveling the intricate threads of modern connection, then subscribe to LoveThreads. Join our community for more insights, clarity, and a fresh perspective on navigating your own path to meaningful relationships. Don't miss out on future episodes. Hit that subscribe button now.